The year is 1976, and we're at the infamous Nürburgring in Germany. Niki Lauda, one of the greatest drivers of all time, got off to a good start and was on his way to securing a significant victory. But in the blink of an eye, everything changed. Trapped in the burning wreckage for nearly a minute, Lauda was about to become the next victim of the Nürburgring track that had already tragically claimed more than 69 lives. Miraculously, thanks to the quick actions of fellow drivers, Lauda was pulled from the inferno and survived. This moment would become a turning point in Formula One history, forcing the sport to confront its mortality and re-evaluate the very essence of competition. But the Nürburgring, or let's just say, the Green Hell, is just one chapter in a saga of circuits that have challenged the courage and skill of the world's greatest drivers. Today, we're looking into the world of Formula One's most dangerous tracks. We're not talking about your average circuits, we're exploring the ones that made even the boldest drivers think twice before pushing pedal to metal. Let's begin with the track in the Belgian countryside, the old Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Back in the 1960s, the old Spa-Francorchamps was essentially just a 14-kilometer stretch of public roads, narrow, twisty roads lined with houses and trees. And as if that wasn't dangerous enough, the weather liked to play its own games. It could be sunny on one side of the track, while another section would be drenched in rain. The most famous, or should I say infamous, part of the old Spa was the Master Kink. Imagine taking a quick left-right at over 180 miles per hour, with houses on both sides. If any driver left the road at the Master Kink, they didn't know what they were going to hit. Jackie Stewart, a three-time world champion and a guy who knew a thing or two about danger, referred to this corner as by far the most difficult corner in the world. And coming from a man nicknamed the Flying Scot, that says a lot. The old Spa also had a corner that still gives drivers nightmares today. That's the Eau Rouge. Even in its modern, safer form, it's a heart-stopper. But back then, it was a blind uphill corner taken at full throttle. Drivers would rocket up the hill, unsure if there was a crash or oil spill, or who knows what awaited them at the top. The 1966 Belgian Grand Prix is a perfect example of how dangerous this track was. It was raining cats and dogs, turning the track into the world's fastest slip and slide. Jackie Stewart aquaplaned off the track, his car doing somersaults before crashing into a farmer's building. He was trapped in the car with fuel leaking all around him. If it wasn't for his quick-thinking buddies Graham Hill and Bob Bondurant, Stewart might not have made it out alive. This scary moment lit a fire under Stewart, pushing him to fight for better safety in F1. But old Spa wasn't just dangerous when it was wet. Those long straights and high-speed corners meant that if something broke on your car, you were in for a world of trouble. In 1960, on a single horrific day during the Belgian Grand Prix, 2 drivers lost their lives. Chris Bristow lost control at the lightning-fast Bournonville corner and was thrown from his car. Alan Stacey, in a freak accident that sounds too bizarre to be true, was struck in the face by a bird and crashed fatally. Eventually, even the daredevils of F1 had to admit that the old Spa was just too darn dangerous. In 1979, the track was significantly shortened and modernized, giving us the Spa we know and love today. However, that can't be said for the Nürburgring Nordschleife. But before we talk about that nightmare of a track, let's take a trip to Italy, to the hallowed grounds of Monza, the Temple of Speed. Now, modern Monza is known for its long straights and rich history, but its past holds some dark secrets. Back in the day, Monza wasn't just fast, it was insanely, terrifyingly fast. The original track had the road course we know today, but it also had something extra special, a steeply banked oval section. This combination created one of the fastest circuits in Formula One history. The banked turns, with their rough concrete surfaces and extreme angles, put immense stress on both cars and drivers. It was on this track that F1 experienced one of its darkest days, the 1961 Italian Grand Prix. During the race, Wolfgang von Tripp's Ferrari collided with Jim Clark's Lotus on the approach to the Parabolica corner. Von Tripp's car was launched into the air, crashing into a side barrier where spectators were watching. The accident claimed the lives of Von Tripp's and 15 spectators, marking one of the deadliest crashes in F1 history. This tragedy led to the abandonment of the banked oval for Formula One races, but Monza's high-speed nature continued to pose risks. The long straights ending in chicanes created heavy braking zones where failures could be catastrophic. In 1970, Jochen Rindt, who would posthumously win the World Championship that year, lost his life in a crash at the Parabolica during practice for the Italian Grand Prix. Monza's danger wasn't limited to single incidents. The sustained high speeds put tremendous strain on engines and other mechanical components. It wasn't uncommon for multiple cars to suffer failures during a race, sometimes with dire consequences. As the years passed, safety improvements were made. Chicanes were added to slow the cars, and runoff areas were expanded. But to this day, it remains one of the fastest and most thrilling circuits in F1. The next most dangerous F1 track is also situated right there in Italy, but this time it's not Monza, it's Imola, home of the San Marino Grand Prix. While not as lengthy or as old as some we've discussed, this track earned its place on our list due to one of the most tragic weekends F1 has ever seen. The Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, which we know as Imola, is a fast, flowing circuit that drivers generally enjoy. However, it had a history of serious accidents, particularly at the flat-out Tamburello corner. In 1987, Nelson Piquet had a severe crash there during practice, and Gerhard Berger suffered a fiery accident at the same spot in 1989. Despite these incidents, the corner remained largely unchanged due to the Santerno River's proximity limiting runoff options. However, after the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix incident, the change became a necessity. That San Marino Grand Prix weekend began ominously when Rubens Barrichello suffered a severe crash during Friday practice, leaving him unconscious and out of the race. But worse was to come. During Saturday qualifying, Roland Ratzenberger, a rookie driver, lost his life when his front wing failed, sending him into a concrete wall at over 300 kilometers per hour. The tragedy didn't end there. On Sunday during the race, three-time world champion Ayrton Senna crashed at Tamburello corner. The Brazilian icon succumbed to his injuries, leaving the motorsport world in shock. The loss of Ratzenberger and Senna in a single weekend forced Formula One to confront its approach to safety like never before. The aftermath of that dark weekend saw sweeping changes in Formula One. Track safety was overhauled, car designs were modified to enhance driver protection, and the FIA instituted new safety protocols. Imola itself was significantly altered, with Tamburello and other high-speed corners modified to reduce risks. While Imola's deadliest era was mercifully brief, the impact of those 1994 tragedies resonates to this day. But when it comes to F1 tragedies, the one that still echoes through the sport is Niki Lauda's horrific crash at the Nürburgring Nordschleife in 1976, or as Jackie Stewart so aptly nicknamed it, the Green Hell. The Nürburgring remains the second deadliest track F1 has ever raced on. We touched on it earlier, but now let's dive deeper into why this circuit earned such a chilling reputation. Located in Germany, the Nürburgring Nordschleife is so long and complicated that even the best drivers in the world took years to master it. Imagine a 14.2-mile beast with over 170 corners. Yes, 170. Each turn was a potential disaster waiting to happen, demanding not just skill, but nerves of steel from anyone brave enough to race there. The Nordschleife wasn't just long, it was downright scary. Narrow track, no runoff areas, and a lovely forest waiting to greet you if you went off. Oh, and let's not forget the lovely Eiffel Mountain weather. Sunshine, rain and fog. Sometimes, all in one lap. Stirling Moss, one of the greatest drivers never to win a world championship, said, "If you went off the road, you didn't know what you were going to hit. There was no margin for error. Even the hardest concentration couldn't always save you on the Nordschleife. Just ask Niki Lauda." Luckily, Lauda survived that horrific crash in 1976, but after that, the Nordschleife's days as an F1 track were numbered. It was simply too long, too complex, and too dangerous for modern F1 racing. The 1976 German Grand Prix was the last F1 race held on the full Nordschleife. Yet, as deadly as it was, the Nordschleife isn't the most dangerous track in F1 history. That dubious honor goes to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Across its long history and various racing series, 42 lives have been lost on this hallowed ground, including 7 Formula One drivers. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway, affectionately known as the Brickyard, stands as a monument to speed and daring. Its 2.5-mile oval is lined with unforgiving concrete walls. In the early years of F1, this track was a constant fixture on the calendar. The quest for glory on this track came at a terrible price. The high-speed nature of oval racing, combined with the track's uncompromising layout, creates a deadly cocktail of risk. There are no runoff areas here, just an unyielding wall waiting to punish the slightest mistake. One such tragedy struck in 1955 during the Indianapolis 500 that counted towards the Formula One World Championship. Two-time defending champion Bill Vukovich was leading the race when he encountered slower traffic. In the ensuing chaos, Vukovich's car was launched over the outside wall, landing upside down and bursting into flames. The racing world lost one of its brightest stars that day. The inclusion of the Indianapolis 500 in the F1 calendar lasted until 1960, marking a unique chapter in the sport's history. While its time as an F1 venue was relatively short, it still claimed the lives of 7 F1 drivers. That's wild! And there you have it, the most dangerous tracks in Formula One history. Now, it's over to you. Which F1 track do you think should have made the list? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our amazing content.